Christmas, you filthy animals.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for stopping by and hanging out with me for a second. My name is Justin, and this is another video brought to you by Lights Out Radio. Yeah. I always like the yeah. Anyway, so I hope everybody's doing okay, man. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's being blessed. I hope everybody's doing blessed. Give and receive. That's the way of life, yin and yang. Everything in life has to have balance, right? So anyway, everybody, so we're going to jump right into this video. We're going to be talking about the devil's footprints phenomenon that has taken place in England. And anyway, let's just jump right into it. Yeah. So something strange happened on the cold night of February 8th, 1855, around the Exe estuary in Devon, England. That winter was extremely cold. According to reports from the time, temperatures remained around freezing from January until March. The low temperatures didn't allow snow to melt, and every new snowfall just added a new layer over the terrain. These extreme weather conditions were the perfect setup for the strange events of the night. According to the few witness accounts from that time, after a heavy snowfall on the night of February 8th, 1855, mysterious hoof marks appeared all over South and East Devon. The hoof marks were reported to be around 4 inches long, 3 inches across, between 8 and 16 inches apart, and mostly in a single file. Reports about these footprints came from around 30 different locations in Devon. The combined footprints had a reported length of between 40 and 100 miles. It seemed like the creature that left the traces could overcome any obstacle. Footprints were found, or hoof marks, whatever you want to call them, were found all over houses, frozen rivers, haystacks, snow-covered roofs, high walls, and also inside drain pipes. Here's a part of the news report that describes the event. And I quote, "It appears on Thursday night last, there was a very heavy snowfall in the neighborhood of Exeter and the south of Devon. On the following morning, the inhabitants of the above towns were surprised at discovering the footmarks of some strange and mysterious animal endowed with a power of ubiquity, as the footprints were to be seen in all kinds of unaccountable places, on the tops of houses and narrow walls, in gardens and in courtyards, enclosed by high walls and palings, as well as in open fields." So that's kind of strange right there. I mean, on rooftops and fields, over walls, like in courtyards and gardens that are surrounded by really high walls. It's just crazy. The kind of crazier part is the footprints appeared over a huge area, from Exmouth up to Topsham and across the Exe estuary to Dawlish and Teignmouth. I know I'm butchering these names. I'm sorry, England, don't hate me. All my British people, stand up. I'm sorry. Some reports also claimed footprints appeared even further south to Totnes and Torquay, and as far as Weymouth, known as Dorset, and Lincolnshire. Now, first-hand evidence of this event is rare. The first written accounts of this phenomena appeared in 1950 after a collection of documents belonging to Reverend H.T. Ellacombe, the Vicar of Silst, St. George in the 1850s, was discovered. These documents included his personal letters, some tracings of the footprints, and a letter to the Illustrated London News marked "Not for Publication." Here is a part of that letter, and I quote, "The marks which appeared on the snow, which lay very thinly on the ground at the time, and which were seen on Friday morning to all appearances, were the perfect impression of a donkey's hoof, the length 4 inches by 2 3/4 inches, but instead of progressing as the animal would have done, or indeed as any other would have done, feet right and left, it appeared the foot had followed foot in a single line." Curious, right? The distance from each tread being 8 inches, or rather more, the footmarks in every parish being exactly the same size, and the steps the same length. Now that's crazy. Now we're talking anywhere from 40 to 100 miles. These footprints are found on rooftops, in courtyards that are surrounded by tall walls, on top of walls, and in fields and stuff. Like, this is craziness. There was no real way to fake that back then. Now, the footprints were soon named Devil's Footprints, or the Tracks of Satan, because of their shape and resemblance to a cloven hoof. Some people started to really believe the devil himself made the footprints. People were scared for some time after the event and avoided venturing outside after dark. And I mean, people were really spooked, particularly by the prints that appeared to stop right at the threshold of their homes. Many refused to leave their houses, convinced that the devil himself was roaming Devon looking for sinners. The footprints remain unexplained to this day, but cooler heads have offered more reasonable explanation. Now, this is really crazy. Like, the tracks traveled up to doors and across roofs, through haystacks, and over 14-foot tall walls. They even crossed rivers. Like, this is craziness. And I mean, people were coming up with all kinds of excuses or theories. You know, people were saying, oh, well, maybe it was a kangaroo that had escaped from a nearby private zoo. It would explain the bipedal tracks, and kangaroo footprints do make an odd shape, but they wouldn't be in a single file line, you know? That's what kills me. Like, you would see the double hop because they have to lean back on that arch on the back of their leg. They lean back on that, you know what I mean? So it would leave bigger, way bigger marks than that. So I'm going to X that one out personally. And people also went on to theorize that maybe it was a badger. Badgers also make bipedal tracks, and this seems like a much more plausible explanation than an escaped kangaroo. However, it's doubtful that a badger could have traveled that far in one night, especially up 14-foot tall walls and shit, you know what I mean? Another person said the improbable tracks could have been made by a stray weather balloon. They always go back to the weather balloon. I don't understand what it is with a fucking weather balloon. By a stray weather balloon or hot air balloon dragging an anchor. This theory helps explain the tracks on rooftops and over tall garden walls, but no lost balloon was ever reported at the time. People also argued that a balloon dragging an impalement would almost certainly have gotten tangled up in a tree at some point, leaving evidence of its journey. You know what I mean? It would have got hooked on a roof or on a tree or something. Some people said, oh, it was rain. The way the rain hit the snow and froze could have made the marks, some people theorized, but their uniform, the linear pattern, that theory seems, you know, pretty far-fetched to me, like they're grasping for straws, in my opinion. Another one was, well, maybe it was hopping mice. A few animals, including a wood mouse, native to the area, are known to hop. This can leave a hoof-type print because of how the animals hold their feet together while hopping. But it's unlikely that a mouse would sustain a hopping motion for very long. So the fact that the footprint stretched for miles, and we're talking from 40 to 100 miles, makes this theory really suspect in my book. The mystery was reignited in 2009 when a woman in North Devon discovered footprints similar to the 1855 marks in her garden. The 5-inch long prints appeared to have been made with a pair of hooves, and by something with a stride of between 11 and 17 inches. Now, how crazy is that? Now, biologist Graham Inglis documented the 2009 prints and shrugged off the controversy. He said, quote, "The footprints are peculiar, but they are not the devil's. I don't believe the horned one has been to Woolsey. Personally, I think it belongs to a rabbit or a hare, but quite an academic punch-up has started over it." End quote. I don't know how it's a rabbit or a hare. Well, I guess maybe her garden is what he's talking about in particular, not the 1855. But still, it's crazy, right? And I would go with him. You know, I'm not the type to just dive all in and be like, yeah, I believe it. It's the fucking devil. I seen him. I seen it. You know what I mean? Except for the fact that 8 years earlier than the 1855 phenomena, 8 years prior to that, police investigated a masked man with claws that was known to assault women and then leap to unnatural heights to avoid capture. The same man appears throughout England during the 19th century, and witnesses had described him of having a devil-like appearance. He's nicknamed Spring-Heeled Jack, the Terror of London. Now, the very first claimed sighting of Spring-Heeled Jack was in 1837. Later sightings were reported all over Great Britain and were especially prevalent in suburban London, the Midlands, and Scotland. There are many theories about the nature and identity of Spring-Heeled Jack. The urban legend was very popular in its time, due to the tales of his bizarre appearance and the ability to make extraordinary leaps. Now that kind of explains the hoof prints up on the roofs and over the 14-foot walls and shit like that. Not saying I'm just trying to tie things together. To the point that he became the topic of several works of fiction. Spring-heeled Jack was described by people who claimed to have seen him as having a terrifying and frightful appearance, with diabolical physiognomy, clawed hands, and eyes that resembled red balls of fire. Quote, one report claimed that beneath a black cloak, he wore a helmet and a tight-fitting white garment like an oilskin. Many stories also mention a devil-like aspect. Others said he was tall and thin and the appearance of a gentleman. Several reports mentioned that he could breathe out blue and white flames and that he wore sharp metallic claws on his fingertips. At least 2 people claimed he was able to speak comprehensible English. I mean, my great-grandma always told me the devil comes in a suit with a smile, right? So, I mean, some people see him as this grotesque creature. Some people see him as a gentleman in a suit. I don't know. Kind of ties together. But anyway, guys, that's the story of the devil's footprints in London. Also, a quick touch on Spring-heeled Jack. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, everybody, stay spooky, stay blessed, stay safe. You know what I mean? This has been Lights Out Radio, baby. Like and subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more. Stay up to date. We got a lot of things coming. A lot of things coming on the way. You just stay tuned. Everybody, this has been Lights Out Radio. Yeah.